Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and we are your wonderful co-hosts, Jim and Joy Pinto. And you are an important part of the family, and we would love to hear from you. All you need to do is send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com. Well, a blessed Easter to everyone. We can say now, and I've been really bad, I've been saying hallelujah all during Lent. Yeah. But we are an Easter people, and hallelujah is our song. And I just love to say that. And I feel it, I believe it, and I know it to be true.
Amen.
And that is wonderful. Well, why don't you share our little story?
Well, we had the privilege of going to a wedding recently. And that's always good to go, to hear the renewal of marital vows and to have such hope for that couple getting married. And then during the reception, they had a dance. They asked all the married people to get up and dance, and they were charting how many years you've been married. So those who were married, 5 years or less, step down. 10 years, 50. So it goes up. Went up to 40 years. We were still on the dance floor.
We were on the floor for a while.
And then we had to go at 40 years. We're married going on 39. And so the last couple standing was there, a beautiful couple.
Yes.
And so the DJ got up and said, now we want you to speak to this young couple and give them some advice.
The fresh new newlyweds.
Right. So I thought that was really good. Here's a couple 40 years or over. And so the guy spoke first, and he kind of flushed. He turned all red, and he was kind of moving around a little bit. And I'm just looking at him, and he said like 2 words, but one of the words was sacrifice.
First word.
He said sacrifice, sacrificial. He's going to his wife, sacrifice, sacrificial. And I was like, yes, that's it. And then what did the wife say?
She said respect, which was her word, which all men need to be respected. That is their number one need, is respect. Yeah. Who do they need respect from? Their beloved wife. Right. And then what else did she say,
and
which
she
I
said,
thought was fun?
And have a sense of humor.
There you go.
And I just thought, wow, there it is in a nutshell for a successful marriage. And of course, the Lord has to be central in there, and the church. But marriage and relationships are about sacrifice. What a word in today's society, right? Instead of sacrifice, there's selfishness. So much selfishness in marriage and in other relationships that are taking place. You got to be sacrificial. It's all about giving your life and Christ's love for the bride. He gave himself, this donation of stuff, all these great words that we have in our Catholic faith. And respect. Men and women, boys and girls need to respect and reverence each other because we come from God and we're going to God. We don't get to relate to one another directly.
Right.
It has to be through reverencing Jesus Christ. And then a sense of humor in marriage in particular is like very, very important.
Right. And I think as we're getting older, which
we are getting older.
We are getting older. I think our sense of humor is better. I think in the beginning of marriage, you take everything so seriously. You want everything to be so perfect. Yeah. You want your children to be perfect. You want to be the perfect wife. You want to be the perfect husband.
That's funny.
That's funny.
That's
well,
funny.
now it's really funny.
That's really funny.
Because it's so not true. But you have these expectations, and they're just not idealistic. They're not real. They're just like way out there. And so I think that's the beauty of the journey. And if you are respectful and you are sacrificing, and then you can really laugh at all the times when you're not, or you're taking yourselves way too seriously.
Yeah. And those 2 elements, sacrifice and respect, are important in any human relationship, especially between boys and girls, men and women, dating or courting or whatever it might be, in this kind of sex-crazed culture, the sexual revolution culture, that we as human beings, we as Christian Catholic people, we're about sacrifice. We're not about usury. We're about sacrifice and about love.
Well, we are going to have a wonderful guest, yet again, a beautiful young mom and mother, wife and mother. Her name is Allison Dreher, and she is the education coordinator for the Augustine Foundation. Her website is CatholicSexuality.com. Now that should entice you. What is Catholic sexuality? Does it matter? Is it different? Well, you can go to our email, be a part of this show, jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and we're going to just have a great conversation talking about the whole sexual revolution. How did we got this way?
How it impacted adolescence in particular.
Right, and is there a way to find our way back
There
to
is
everything
indeed.
that is true
Allison's
and
going to
holy
share
and
that.
good?
We'll be
Well,
right
good.
back. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and we have bringing to you another beautiful young woman, a great guest, Allison Dreher. And Allison's job is she's the education coordinator for the Augustine Foundation. Fabulous website called CatholicSexuality.com. Well, Allison, welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy. You are married 16 years.
Yes, this year.
Living in Washington, right?
Yes.
Right in the Washington, D.C. area. Mother of 3.
Yes.
So you kind of know some things, right?
Just a few.
Yeah, just a few. Well, why don't you, let's going to talk about with our audience at home and our family, all about Catholic sexuality, about what is the rise to this sexual revolution? What happened? How did we find ourselves in this place?
Well, I think that everyone would agree that contraception had a huge part of the sexual revolution. The idea of contraception is not a new idea. There are even examples of it in biblical times, but we have just never been as good at it as we are in modern times. And so it's kind of given us this false sense of security that we have absolute control over our fertility, and but that's a lie. The truth is that God is the one who gives life and gives life and says when it's time to die. And so when we try to take control of something that is essentially out of our control, the reaction is anxiety and fear. And so we have our trust in something that is a device or a pill or a medication to try to control something that is really not ours to control.
Right. Why is it so bad? Because evidently we have such a contraceptive culture. I mean, it's
Yes.
almost universally accepted, and
Yes.
unfortunately, both in Protestant and in many Catholic circles, whether it's rebellion against the natural law or the teaching of the church, or maybe it's just ignorance. Like we don't get it. Can't we regulate births, or
Right.
do we have to be pregnant every time we have this conjugal relationship?
right.
Or what's so bad? Because I really think there are people who say, I don't
What's
think
so
it's so
terrible?
bad.
Right.
I mean, not me, but they're saying, I don't think it's bad. I don't get it.
Right, and that's always the jump that I think. Well, not always. You hate to say always and never, but a lot of times women jump to the, well, gosh, I'm just supposed to be pregnant and barefoot and at
Right,
home, and that's
right.
not what I want. And the church is archaic and old-fashioned and all these things. What about women's freedom and women's choice? And the thing is that we absolutely do have a choice. God created the body of a woman in such a way that we do have a choice. The man, of course, is always fertile, always. The woman isn't. And so we have a choice there, but getting to your question about why is it so bad, it completely separates what God has brought together in the act of physical love. And that's what I usually say when I teach young children, not young children, but junior high school age. Sometimes even the vocabulary that we use can be very off-putting for them. And so I came up with this term, physical love. It's a way to express love with our bodies. And so when we strip it of its meaning that God gave it, I kind of give the example of food. So it's two sides of the same coin. Why do we eat? Well, we eat because we have to stay alive. If we don't eat, we die. And so, but if you strip food and you try to separate the two and you only eat to live, you become, very austere, and life is very boring and it's just, you're just eating for sustenance. But God also created food as a very enjoyable experience, something to be enjoyed with family and friends. And man, anything with butter and sugar, and my husband knows I'm a donut eating fanatic. I will choose dessert more than I would choose anything else. But when we only eat for pleasure, then we become gluttonous. And so we've taken food and we've done something to it that God didn't intend. Well, it's the same thing with physical love. God intended for it to be gendered, that it was to be male and female coming together to express the one flesh unity that he says existed. You go back to Genesis, and the two shall become one flesh. And when I teach couples, I say, how do we image that most? And they get really uncomfortable and squirm in their seat. And of course, the answer is with physical love, with the union of bodies. And so it's a gendered thing, and it's ordered to life. And when we take that away, we are saying, you know what, God, yeah, I see that we're putting ourselves in a place that's not ours to put. God is the one who made it the way that it is. And even in nature, animals mate for propagation of the species. You don't see this, they don't have reason, they don't have the same capacity to make choices that we do, but the purpose of mating is for propagation of the species. It is us who have willfully stripped that act from what God had intended for it to be. And so, is it important? Absolutely. Is contraception an easy thing? Sure. And a lot of times, Catholics get a bad rap. We're kind of these crazy Catholics over here beating our chests, trying to control society and tell me what to do with my body and, my body, my choice. But again, and with a Christian Catholic understanding of marriage, my body doesn't belong to me anymore.
Yeah.
I gave it to my husband.
Yeah, I just want to, you talked about we as Catholics are perceived sometime as trying to control society.
Right.
And I thought, as you said that, I thought of contraception, the pill in the 60s, whenever that really hit, I don't know if it was 63 or 68, whatever the year was. Isn't that trying to control? So, I mean, hasn't it developed into that now, where we are not even replacing our death rate? I mean, is it not population control? Has it not turned into that? Isn't it a controlling, not only of our own bodies and what we do, we think we can control it, but it really does seem at this point, as this is being perfected and being introduced younger and younger to precious children, to girls, this is like trying to control the world. It is a revolution, a sexual revolution.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, and the word contracept is meaning to be against, life, right? And so here you are, maybe newlyweds, and you're going to use this method of contraceptive, saying, I'm not going to totally give myself to you in totality. We're going to be against life because we need to cultivate so much money so we can have these things, and we're putting things over the beauty of life and love.
Sure.
Right?
When we first got married, I was on a contraceptive. I'm a convert to the Catholic faith, and so I was a Baptist when I grew up, and so about a year after we got married, my prescription ran out. Now, I wasn't on it for contraceptive purposes to begin with, but when I got married, it was just an easy thing to continue to do, right? And so I wasn't ready to have kids. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to finish school, and I had this career in mind and all these things that I wanted to do. And so when I got married, I'm like, I'm not ready for kids, but I want to be married, but okay. So my pill ran out, and my husband's, I said, the Catholic Church says this is not okay. But in my conscience is totally clear on this. It's totally fine. And he said, well, if you can convince me that the church is wrong on this, then we'll just go get you another prescription. And I was like, okay. Well, that was when Google was really new. And so I sat down one morning before work, and I Googled, how does the birth control pill work in a woman's body? And it only took about 5 minutes for me to see the truth, that, it works in 3 ways. 2 of them are contraceptive, and 1 of them is abortifacient. The contraceptive ways that it works is that it inhibits the motility of the man's seed, so it can't reach the egg. So that's a contraceptive. Another way that it works is supposed to suppress ovulation, and that's a contraceptive thing, and I was okay with those 2. But the third thing is that if there is an egg that's fertilized, the endometrial lining of the uterus then becomes inhospitable for that fertilized egg. And what a lot of people don't know is that the fertilization takes place in the fallopian tube, and that the baby, the fetus, can be 10 days old by the time it implants. And so even though the woman might not know she's pregnant, there is a baby that is already forming complete separate DNA that can never ever be repeated ever again. Things like eye color, personality, that is already there. And the little baby is like, I'm here, you know, but a woman may not know that. And so when I saw that, I had a crisis of faith, because I said, I've always been pro-life. I believe life begins at conception. The moment that the sperm and the egg meet, I believe that. And so I think C.S. Lewis said, only a real risk tests the reality of a belief. And so here I was, and it was a risk for me to embrace this, because I knew exactly what it meant. And so for a second I was like, okay. So I got up, I woke my husband up. I said, we have to repent right now, and we have to ask God to forgive us, because we've been married for a year and we certainly haven't been abstinent. And so we asked God to forgive us, and I taught myself a natural method of family planning.
So let's say if there was contraception and there was no threat of a miscarriage from the use of this, say we take that out of the equation.
Right.
Then would it be okay? Why would you have continued, or why shouldn't we continue? Because I think there are some good-intentioned people who are saying we should be able to regulate how many children we want to have. But yeah, if there's a possibility of miscarriage, you know, or aborting this child, I won't do it.
Right.
What if, let's say, that wasn't there? Then what's the problem?
Well, again, it goes back to the very nature of the relationship of husbands and wives.
Okay.
And what God is asking us to entrust to one another, and that the physical union of husbands and wives has to remain open to the life-giving part of that, the power of that. When there is no room for the third, that love can even become selfish, because your eyes get full of the one in front of you, and it becomes a me and you against the world kind of idea, and that's not God's love, right? It's not a Trinitarian kind of love. And so when I teach couples and I do some marriage prep, I do a class where I talk about the Trinitarian aspect of married love, and that, you know, Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2 have two different creation stories. And so Pope Paul II, John Paul II, Blessed St. Paul II, said that you should take the scriptures as they are, because a lot of times we take creation account 1 and 2 in the first and second chapters, and we kind of weave them together. But in Genesis chapter 1, it says that God created them male and female. In his own image, he created them male and female, and blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply. So from the beginning, it wasn't that Adam was alone and then Eve came later. In this creation account, Adam and Eve, they're not even named. They're just man and woman in this Trinitarian image. And so St. Augustine talks about that in his treatise De Trinitate. He tries to explain, you know, God the Father is the giver, the pourer outer of love, and Jesus Christ is the beloved, the receiver of this gift. And he says, and as the Father pours this love into the Son receives it. And Jesus even says that in the Garden of Gethsemane. He prays and he says, Father, everything I have comes from you. All these little ones, and I said, they're talking about us.
Right.
He's talking about me and you. And he says, and then he says, and I give them back to you. I'm not going to lose any one of them. I give them right back. So that exchange of love, that very action of love is the Holy Spirit, this action of love. And so I draw this thing on a whiteboard, and I say the husband, even in his body, is the poor outer, and the woman, even in her very body, it's written on our physicality that we're the receiver of the gift, and in that exchange of love, there's power for the third, and so 1 + 1 = 3.
Right.
And I think that aspect of totality, I think I found in my own life and in sharing with both Catholic and evangelical guys about conjugal love. It's a renewal of that marital covenant, isn't it?
Right.
I think of the vow, with all that I am and all that I have,
Yeah.
I honor you. And I think when guys get that and they're saying, well, if we're contracepting, I'm not really giving everything.
Right.
And if this is supposed to be a renewal of the covenant of love and how Christ, gave himself, then you see that would be missing. Then it's,
Right.
as John Paul II, I guess, said, St. John Paul II, then there's a language of the body.
Right.
And you're not telling the truth.
You're not telling the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I
Right.
think that's, I find when guys get that, then they're saying, I want to be genuine.
Right.
And so, well, you don't want to lose this. And
Right.
they kind of get that and they make that connection.
Right.
But we're here sharing, about the sexual revolution, especially as it impacts adolescence. We're not even talking about marriage.
marriage, right.
We got enough problems in marriage getting this right.
Right.
What's birth control, contraception? Is this really happening widespread? Is it growing that this is seen as something positive for people?
Absolutely.
Share
Sure.
with us.
Yeah. I mean, contraception is likened to responsibility and making good choices and mature choices about decisions that you make in your life. And but when we again strip the meaning of sexuality and physical love, then it only becomes about me. And it becomes about my own desire and it might be an expression of unity, but there is a confusion about what that means. And so physical, love is expected in any kind of relationship. And so we when it's not gendered, I guess is what I want to say. When you think of sex in terms of it's not even gendered, it's just an expression of love,
Right.
then all of the ways to express that become valid, whether it's with where we're going with our society, out of marriage, out of wedlock, and there's any number of ways to express that personal sexuality becomes valid. And so our children are growing up also with this idea in society that you are a self-creating individual. And you can determine for yourself what is the truth. You can decide for yourself what is even reality. And you create that for yourself. And that is a lie.
That's scary.
That is scary. And so, I think there's even a psychological term. It's called out of touch with reality. And that's a diagnostic criteria for a person who might be struggling,
Right.
with certain problems. And so we become out of touch with reality.
That's just incredible what you're saying, if I'm following it. So that there's this expectation, especially among our young people, and this is engendered by the culture.
Yes.
You talk about formation of conscience.
Right.
That the culture and certain elements within it are, whether it's intentional, I think a lot of it is intentional, or forming the conscience of our young people and of adults as well. But the way it's being formed is, if I understand you, it's that there's an expectation for our young people that they should express love. And we believe they should express love with their bodies.
Right.
But we think about that in a different way. So there's a good word, love, and express it with your body. Well, yeah. And you express that however you want, in as many varied ways as you want, with whomever you want.
Correct.
When you want.
When you want. And it might change from one day to the next.
Right,
You might want
right.
to express love this way this day and another way another day. But when you divorce that from a gendered identity, male, female,
Right.
A gendered identity and commitment.
and commitment.
commitment, and
Yes.
sacrifice.
And respect.
sacrifice,
And
right. I mean, because if a woman became pregnant every single time, how would that change? I ask this to men. How would that change the way you look at her body? How would that change the way that you look at that act? And then so that
Wow.
they're like, that's
Okay.
a great question.
Right.
And then I pose the question to the women. I say, but the thing is that if we did become pregnant every single time, then God would have been taking away our choice in the matter. And so, is that love?
Right.
Right? So God is giving the man a choice to say yes with his body, and that yes means I take you and I love you and I will love whoever comes as a result of this every single time. And the woman's choice then becomes, do I receive that gift?
Right.
Is it time to receive that gift? And then we have the choice, because our fertility is such that it's not forced on us every time. And so we absolutely have a choice in the matter.
Right.
And so people, they're like, well, you're anti-choice and anti-woman.
No, I am
pro-woman.
pro-woman. Yeah.
Yes, and absolutely with a true understanding of what choice is and freedom.
Right.
So.
And the beauty of all of that.
Sure,
Which is wonderful.
yes.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. You're an important part of the family, and we want to hear from you. So send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com. When we come back, we will hear more from beautiful Allison all about this sexual revolution, this culture that is so sexually saturated. What is the answer? What is the cure? And what can we do to be a help?
We have the answer.
We do. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and we're having a beautiful conversation with Allison Dreher. You can go to her website. It's called CatholicSexuality.com, and their foundation is the Augustine Foundation. Right now, we're going to go straight to an email. Social media is filled with posts about parenting, and they seem like they're supposed to be funny. But I feel that some people see these posts and are turned off to parenthood, as if crayon on the wall, torn up sofas, and emergency room visits are all they'll deal with as parents. Should people think twice about what they post on social media? Are we accidentally scaring people away from children? And this is from Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. My husband and I talk about this all the time. Yes. I think that we need to think about the things that come out of our mouth. Even on Christian radio, sometimes I hear people talking about the difficulty of life, and they're like, "Oh, well, you should try having a baby."
Right, right.
And and the thing is too is that our children hear that. They hear that, and children have this uncanny ability to think that everything is their fault. And so a child that has a good self-esteem might hear something like that and be like, well, gosh, I'm glad I'm here. My mom better not have any more kids. Or a child that has low self-esteem might think, well, gosh, my parents would be better off if I had never been born. And is that what we want our kids to know? Is that what we want them to believe about life and about love? And so, yes, I agree with, I think Susan was her name. We're trying to be funny. We're trying to be relevant.
Right.
But really, the underlying theme there is that life and children are a bad thing, and I call it the contraceptive lens.
Right.
It's this lens that people look through, and when we look at our children through the eyes of contraception,
Yeah.
they do become, it's like, oh gosh, wow,
Yeah.
and trying to gear yourself up for this difficulty. And and so when I talk about the difficulty of parenthood, I say, it doesn't have anything to do with the children. The difficulty of parenthood comes in how much I have to sacrifice and die to myself to love them the way that God does.
Right.
And and then what hurts even more is when our children don't recognize the sacrifices or don't really even care about the sacrifices. Not that, my children do that, because I think they're going to watch this and I don't want them to feel bad. But if they don't recognize, then we get offended.
Right.
Do you know what I've done for you?
Right.
But then I think, that must be how God the Father feels.
All the time. And so does the Blessed Mother.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But children, I mean, we deal with it on a daily basis at the Pregnancy Medical Center, and girls will come in and say things, and you have to present, because she's wanting to abort her baby. You have to say, this baby isn't a burden, it's a blessing.
Right.
Because she's just thinking it as a burden, unwanted, baby's got to pay the price. I'm not dropping out of school for the life of this child,
Right. Right.
And she was using birth control. So in
Right.
her mind, she was being responsible,
Right.
And so you really have to combat, the culture in that way.
Right.
But what else can you say this product of conception is if you're against conception and the culture is
Right.
against conception?
Right.
And my church is against conception.
Right. Right.
If it's accepting it. And so what is this? Is it a baby or is it an unintended consequence, which one of the medical associations.
Unfortunate consequence.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, an unfortunate consequence.
Where does that come from, that term?
It's just, I've seen it in some literature before, that we are going to take care of, the unfortunate consequences of this act. But the truth is that anytime a healthy man and woman come together, pregnancy is a possibility. Every time, because that's how God made it. Again, it's out of our control.
Yeah.
And so every contraceptive method has a failure rate.
Right.
And it might not fail for 99 women, but for that one woman that it does fail for, especially if she's taken it, with what you're talking about, then she comes to a crisis of emotion where I've done something that I don't, I've taken steps so that you don't come here. I've taken those steps. I don't want you, and here you are. Right. And so when our expectations go unmet, what is the emotion? Anger.
Right.
We get mad, and that's not right or wrong. It just is.
It just is.
And so then, for a woman who might even be a Christian, she might be feeling this, and then she might feel ashamed, like, "Oh my gosh, what kind of a person am I to hate my own child?" And so this vortex of negative emotions that come down, and then coupled with the fact that we say to our society says, "What is true for you is true,"
Right.
and so this girl then thinks, "Well, these are true things." And this must be the only option,
Right.
when in fact she's believing some lies and she doesn't even know it. Her feelings are valid and real, but they might not be based on the truth.
Right.
And I homeschool my daughter, and I said, we disproved this idea that you can create your own reality and truth by a simple science project that we did. We went into a dark room with dark colored construction papers. We had red and blue and black. And so we had to, in the dark room, had to figure out what color we were looking at. My daughter and I swore that we were looking at a red construction paper. We get out in the light, and it's blue. Even our very feeling, even our senses lied to us.
Or even when you believed what you thought it was. I believe that this.
Right? And so, so that has spiritual implications too. When we're in the dark, things are going to seem true, but when we come to the light of Christ, we will see it in a totally different way.
Right. We're going to go straight to another email. It says, "My husband and I have joyfully embraced a large family, and it has been a wonderful experience. However, I'm struggling with pride and sometimes look down on families when I see they only have 1 or 2 children. I don't know their circumstances, but I still judge them. How can I shake this? I know I'm definitely not a better parent just because I have more children." This is Wendy from Ohio.
Oh, Wendy, I feel your pain. I understand that struggle, and I want to just encourage her, because the fact that she recognizes that she does not know their circumstances is evidence of the Holy Spirit working on her for this, and it's evidence that she's going in the right direction. And so I just encourage her to keep doing what she's doing. Just pray and recognize that each circumstance may look different. From the outside, our family looks like that. I only have 3. I have 2 boys and a daughter, and it looks like, oh, well, they had, their boy and their girl, and now they're done. But we've had lots of other problems, and that nobody would ever know. And sometimes even in Catholic circles, I feel compelled to share my story
to justify
why I only have 3 children. And so she's right on the right track, and I would just really encourage her and just to continue what she's doing. Just try to pray and ask God to help her to not judge that situation, because
I want to get back to the adolescents, to young people, let's say 13 through 16, 17 years old. I heard from someone who's a minister in a Christian tradition, and he was sharing with me that in his city, there's a department in the city for youth, and there's this youth outreach for a day to teenagers, girls. So there's a number of agenda items on the flyer. So it might be, how you dress, or it might be hygiene, and then
self-esteem.
It says self-esteem, and it says birth control.
Oh.
And so the minister was like, well, why does this have birth control on it? So he did the right thing. He went and called the fellow that's over the youth department of the city and said, I see all these things that you're saying. What's with the birth control thing? And this guy was saying, well, it's not really part of the agenda, but if birth control comes up, we have medical people, they have physicians that can address that with the parent and so on. But he just kept on saying, well, why would that be an agenda item? It doesn't sound like if it just comes up, you're going to talk about it. And the morality of this, the legality of it, because we have girls come in who are pregnant 11 years old, 12 years old, 13 years old, and it's statutory rape. And so why are we promoting this birth control? So we're trying to take some other steps to try and confront this, to say, you need to pull this.
Right.
But again, to you, I mean, there's an agenda here.
Sure.
So
Sure.
share with us more fully what's going on in the culture, in the medical society, because it really seems more and more that these young, 13 years old, and we're going to talk about birth control and contraception, and it certainly sounds like I should be having sex, or if I'm going to have sex, or I can't help myself, I have to have sex, and it should be consequence-free.
Right.
Speak to that. What are you saying?
Well, the American Association of Pediatrics, in their September 2014 statement, have come with a new policy in treating adolescents. And so it just kind of goes along with what you're saying, is that they no longer talk about abstinence. They talk about wait until you're ready for sexual onset. Well, what does that mean exactly?
So you're telling a 13-year-old, wait until
you're
you
ready.
decide you're ready.
Exactly.
But we tell them you're not ready to drive a car until you're
Correct.
16 or 17, right?
And if you think you're ready, and even if they say that they are not think that they're ready, the recommendation is to go ahead and offer them contraceptives. But the first line is this LARC. And this is a long-acting reversible contraceptive.
Okay.
So that can either be an intrauterine
So that's an
device.
acronym.
It's an acronym.
L-A-R-C.
L-A-R-C is a long-acting reversible contraceptive. And so that's first line, not even a pill. We want to just put these LARCs in these girls. And so that's either an intrauterine device or it's an implant. And the reason for that is because they have the highest rate of effectiveness because you take away the human element, right? You don't have to take a pill every day. You don't have to, put the condom on or whatever. And so of course they're going to have a higher effectiveness rate. But again, they still have a failure rate, but I'm not going to go into that. But something very interesting is that the higher the effectiveness rate of a contraceptive, the higher the chance of contracting a sexually transmitted infection.
Right.
Because when a couple are sure that pregnancy is not going to happen, or relatively sure, they're less likely to use protection. And so sexually transmitted infections are on the rise. They're the statistics are staggering. And so what are we doing to our children? And then, a 13, 14-year-old girl who is cycling already has the absolute right to get that LARC without her parents' knowledge, permission. They even ask the mother to step out of the room if they know that the adolescent is having a cycle.
But the craziness about that is that the parents are bankrolling that from their insurance.
Yes.
But the HIPAA laws protect the 14-year-old. And it's just like, this is crazy.
It's crazy.
How can this happen?
So let's take an email.
We're going to go straight to an email. It says, does access to birth control actually increase the risk of pregnancy because people are more willing to take the risk? To put it in perspective, I would never want to jump off a cliff. But if someone gave me a parachute, I might give it a try for the thrill. Do you think this is true for contraception? And this is from Mark.
Well, Mark, I would first say that the risk of pregnancy is going to be there anytime a couple come together physically. So I think that the more the question is, are more people going to engage in intercourse outside of marriage, or, because they think that they can't get pregnant? And absolutely yes. I mean, a resounding yes.
Right.
It's like, I go back to the food. If you took away the consequences of eating whatever you wanted, as much as you wanted, any time you wanted, how would that change your diet?
Right. It's true. It's true. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more with beautiful Allison. This great conversation. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you know what? We would love to EWTN right here in Irondale, Alabama. You could have a pilgrimage. Maybe you're needing a spiritual pilgrimage. This is the place to come. All you have to do is go to pilgrimages@EWTN.com, or you can call 205-271-2966. We would love to have you here in beautiful Alabama. Well, right now we're going to go straight to Joan, who's in Rome, and she has wonderful words of wisdom to share with us. Joan?
Well, greetings from the Eternal City to everyone at home. Now, Catholic teachings on sexual morality. What a fascinating topic for this evening. And you know, most people, they know what the teachings are, but they don't really know where to find them. And of course, the teachings on sexual morality had their origins in the natural law, in sacred scripture, sacred tradition. And they're taught by the magisterium, the teaching of the church. And of course, these are general guidelines, principles for Catholics to follow in this activity. But what I really want to stress here is that the church teaches that human life and human sexuality are inseparable. Now, because Catholics believe that God created mankind in his image and likeness, and therefore, as God said, he found everything he created to be good, the Catholic Church teaches that the human body and human sexuality are therefore good. Now, the Church considers the expression of love between a man and a woman to be of an elevated form of human activity, what they call noble and worthy, joining as it does husband and wife in an act of becoming only one person and also being open to life. And the sexual expression, however, outside of marriage, the Catholic has serious moral doubts. And then when the sexual expression is frustrated by what they call something like artificial contraception, that too creates big moral doubts. Now, where can you find these teachings? Well, the Catechism of the Catholic Church is very clear in what the Church teaches. Section 2 on the 10 Commandments, Chapter 2, Article 6, the 6th Commandment, starting with paragraph 2331, which says, creating the human race in his own image, God inscribed in the humanity of man and woman the vocation and thus the capacity and responsibility of love and communion. And of course, there are amazing papal documents. We have Humanae Vitae by Paul VI and John Paul II's very celebrated theology of the body. So great teachings, an interesting topic, but now back to you at home.
Thank you so much, Joan. What an incredible report from Rome, fitting exactly with what you're sharing about the foundations for it. Your thoughts about Joan's sharing and the resources she was mentioning?
Yeah, sure. Theology of the Body, absolutely a wonderful, wonderful resource. That changed my life dramatically in ways that we're still, bearing fruit in my marriage and family. Humanae Vitae, I read that before I read Theology of the Body, and I was actually really angry with Pope Paul VI because it leaves no question on what the Church teaches. I mean, this is what, and he was very prophetic in Humanae Vitae and said that if contraceptives were widely accepted, that you would see a general moral decline, that marriage and family would become less important, pornography would be rampant, governments would try to coerce their populations, and hasn't all of that happened?
All of it's come true.
Men would see their wives not as the beloved partner, but as something to be used and discarded. It's all come true.
Yeah.
It has.
Not only men would see their wives, but now it's just all women. It doesn't have to be wife, doesn't have to be whatever. This leads to open season for usury on women.
Sure.
And we see them coming in every day. Our Choice Birmingham Women's Center are pregnant, and we love them and welcome them and try to give hope. But the savagery that's happening when you separate sexuality from true commitment, respect, sacrifice, the covenant of marriage. Not that all of us are claiming perfection in everything, but when you lose that standard, when you lose your guiding light, it's the women that seem to get hit the worst, and they're just in there, and sexually transmitted diseases, abortion, abandonment, from the guys.
Absolutely.
And you really have to redefine with them, because they said, well, he loves me, or I thought he loved me. You have to say, explain to me love.
Right.
Tell me what's love.
Right.
And the majority of these girls that we see all claim Christianity, and indeed they may very well be Christian girls, and women, but they don't have the fullness of an understanding. And so we have to say, what do you mean by Jesus? What do you mean by Christ? And do you understand he was an embryo, he was a fetus? Do you know he's So we've got to represent what sexuality is.
Exactly.
So what are you doing with CatholicSexuality.com, the St. Augustine Foundation, because we just don't want bad news, but
Right,
we
we
need
want
to
some
know what
good news.
ails us so we
Sure.
can be cured.
Absolutely.
How are you addressing this?
Well, with our website, CatholicSexuality.com, we have over 85 videos that are free. All you need to log into the site and watch the videos is a username and a valid email. And so it's set up like a massive open online course. And so you sign up for certain courses. And so we have our course on human sexuality and God's plan for love, marriage, and sex. And that's about 50 videos just right there. What is true masculinity? What is true femininity? Why wait? Dating and waiting and boundaries, and it even talks about abortion and just some of the questions that adolescents ask. And then we have our section on natural family planning. It's a full introductory course on the Billings method. There's lots of methods out there, but we use the Billings method on CatholicSexuality.com. And so our website is free. We aren't looking for any kind of payment. We just want to give society, give Catholics something. And so our different people use it in different ways. We've got a crisis pregnancy center that uses it in their baby boutique. So a woman who comes in who has chosen life for her baby might need a little, diapers and clothes, and so she earns credits by watching some of our videos.
We use that. We do that.
And then some dioceses or parishes use it in marriage prep. For certain bishops have, requirements for NFP, and so we have certificates that when a user finishes a particular segment of our courses, we can print out a certificate, and so that can help for a small parish that might need some NFP in their marriage prep. It's very easily accessible into a religion classroom, either a CCD class or a Catholic school. And because it's set up like a class, there's a test after each segment, so it's a test for learning, so the teacher can even use it for grading. So it really is very user-friendly and can be used in a wide variety of ways.
And that's CatholicSexuality.com. Well, right now we're going to go straight to this email. It says, could you talk about some of the valid reasons couple can use natural family planning? I've heard that the church deems it acceptable in serious situations, but the literature is pretty vague about what is considered serious. This is a great show, and I watch you weekly. And this is from Marcus.
Oh, thank you, Marcus. Yeah, this is a question really dear to my heart because there's a lot of emotional stuff tied to, when is it an okay time to use NFP, to postpone a pregnancy? And, the vagueness of the church is actually a blessing. Because there is no blanket statement, right? There is, a situation and circumstances are so different. And so the church says, that it's a serious reason. I've seen translations that say a just reason, a weighty reason, something that's not just, we don't really want a baby right now, so we're going to use NFP. I would caution that kind of logic. But the fact that he is even asking this question, when is it okay? Again, I would really commend him for that. But, so the couple discerns between the two of them is, what are our reasons for saying no? Right. What would be our reasons for saying yes for a baby? And so society says, no, unless there's a really good reason to say yes. And the church says, of course, yes, unless there's a good reason to say no. And so what is a good reason? Well, it can look different for lots of people. Some people really do struggle with finances. That's a true, some people, we wanted a new car, we wanted to go on this great vacation, again, it's between the couple. And so if they're having a hard time, I would really encourage them to find a holy priest that they trust, maybe a spiritual director that can help them discern what is best for their family at that time.
In our own homes, in your home, you have 3 children. What are the ages?
12, 10, and 6. Okay. Sorry, they're going to be so mad at me.
2 boys and a girl.
2 boys and a girl. A 12-year-old boy, a 10-year-old boy, and then my 6-year-old daughter.
And so how do we develop a family for life? That's for life. That's pro-children.
Yes.
How do we do that? What are the components of that? Is it all teaching? Is it modeling? What is it? And the kids have to make their own choices about what they're going to do too.
Yep.
But we have to have this in the midst of this culture, this throwaway culture, this selfish, narcissistic culture, this unfortunate result instead of a baby. You know, when we were growing up, I was growing up in the 50s and in the 60s, you know, as soon as one of our you know, family members got married, you couldn't wait until they had a baby. Everyone was just waiting to have a baby. So what are you doing, or what do we do to give our children this thing that children are wonderful?
Well, I think it's all of what you said. It's modeling. It's that your children see that the husband and wife love one another. I think that's a huge thing. Sometimes kids aren't even sure their parents like each other very much. And so that's important for them to see us together. You know, and some couples are more affectionate than others. My husband and I are very affectionate. And so our kids see that. And, you know, and kids sometimes are like, oh, you know, but really they want to know that their parents love each other. Our kids actually get in between us when we kiss. They're like, squeeze me in between. And so they try to, and so we just hug even tighter.
Back where they came from.
Sure. And so, so yeah, modeling, teaching, those teachable moments, you know, some of it is going to be intentional, that you're going to try to create a conversation. And sometimes it's just, you know, it happens. You know, I know a lot of times when my kids were little, nighttime would be the time that they would always ask me the deep questions. I'm like, it's...
Right. It's like, we'll talk about that tomorrow,
right?
honey.
And so just to take advantage of those open door opportunities when your kids like hand it to you on a silver platter, and to be, try not to be so tired, and that, you know, that we recognize those teachable moments when they come.
Are you hopeful? Do you see a change taking place within the church, or renewal?
I see some of the younger generation. I see that, I don't know, I think you have the Culture Project people on here before. They were fantastic. And so I see that this theology of the body, I think that we are not finished by any means, seeing the fruit of what is going to come from this understanding of this gift of self. And this I have chosen to give my entire self to you. And, you know, and so I talk about, it's my job is to worry about my husband and what he wants, and serve him and love him. So I don't worry about myself.
Right.
That's his job.
That's right.
You know,
and that's the beauty of that marriage and how that works.
Yes.
Well, we had a wonderful show with beautiful Allison. You can get in touch with her is the Augustine Foundation, CatholicSexuality.com. And so there's lots of information out there. You can go right there.
God bless you and all your loved ones. Bye now.